welcome to TCB's Minnesota Family Business Conversation Series. I'm Allison Kaplan, Editor-in-Chief of Twin Cities Business. Thank you so much for joining us over the lunch hour today. Well, today is the third event in our 5-week series highlighting our 2020 Family Business Award honorees, who are all featured in the September-October issue of Twin Cities Business Magazine, now on select newsstands. And if you're not currently a subscriber, you can take care of that at tcbmag.com. These award winners are truly a testament to the strength and resilience of the many family-owned businesses in our state. You know, we had as many entries as we do in a normal year, and we know 2020 is anything but normal. Each year, our judging committee considers not only financial success of the companies that apply, but also family businesses that have a transition plan, a legacy, and have proven they can work together to create something enduring, something, as I've said before, that we can all get inspired by right now, whether or not you're working with blood relatives. Today's guest is definitely working with her blood relatives, as you will hear in just a minute. For those of you joining us, thank you for being here. And of course, you can use the comment section or the Q&A on your screen to post questions or even talk to each other. We certainly welcome that dialogue, and we'll try to get to as many questions as we can before we end today's webinar. Before I introduce you to our speaker, I just want to briefly thank our sponsors, all of whom are strong advocates for family business. Hubler for family businesses, Frederickson and Byron, University of St. Thomas Family Business Center, and the Platinum Group. You'll hear more insights today from John Kiemig at the St. Thomas Family Business Center. That's later in our program. Well, today we have the privilege of speaking with Nicole Baltes, president of B&F Fastener Supply, one of our 2020 Minnesota Family Business Award winners. Before we meet Nicole, let's take a virtual trip over to B&F in Ramsey with this video produced by our video production partner, Studio 120.
Started the company with another gentleman, and so we were 50-50 partners at the time in 1988, and there was just the two of us and then one other employee. And so from that time forward, we just continued to grow.
My husband and I never expected this to be a family business. Most of the challenges are just with, the economy falling out in 2008, and now the COVID thing. Those are the biggest hurdles, not so much as the family hurdles, I don't feel. There are a few times at family gatherings that I would have to go, ching, punch out, we're not talking business, but for the most part, they're very, very good.
She is what we call the CEO. She's our Chief Emotional Officer. She is the heart of the family. She keeps us well-rounded, keeps us together, and makes sure that the family business will never come into the way of our personal side of things, and makes sure that she instilled in us that family is always the most important. And at the end of the day, we all love each other, and whatever happens at work needs to stay at work, and whatever happens at home needs to stay at home, and it all works really well.
I started in accounting and basically have worked my way through every department to get to where I am now.
Started in the warehouse, as all of us kids did, packing orders, receiving in material, started at the bottom.
Working with Aaron and JJ is truly a treat. For the most part, they don't report directly to me, but we do work directly with some projects. And generally speaking, everything flows very smoothly. And I think that's because we do really know the ins and outs of how we function, because we've known each other for the last 30 years.
The best part, I would say, is the culture. Coming to work every day, and everybody from the ground up is bought into the culture, and it's really cool to see it. We're sending emails on a weekly basis on a huge win or success of someone going above and beyond what the job requires.
I never really understood the culture part of a business. I was just so focused on, getting that next customer, making sure we were being competitive in the marketplace, and I probably didn't concentrate as much on the word culture as I should have over the last 30 years, but the children have taken that to a level that I would never be able to have done it myself.
My dad is one of my biggest role models. He is an extremely hard worker.
My dad he's worked very hard to achieve what he's achieved. I respect him a lot. and what he's built is very impressive. The time he's put into it.
He's certainly one of a kind. He has worked very hard and he plays very hard, and he's taught all of us kids probably more than he will ever know.
I've been behind my husband 100% since he decided to do this, and it was a trying time for us, for sure. But I know most of the people, and so we have, like, how is the family, and so it's kind of like a BF family is what we call it.
We compete with billion-dollar-a-year companies, and we do it family style.
Family style. I love that. Now it is my pleasure to introduce you to Nicole. Hi, Nicole.
Hey, Allison. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Let me just tell everybody a little bit about you and your background, if that's okay. Nicole has been in the presidency role at B&F Fastener since April of 2019. Prior to taking over as president, she completed an extensive 6-year training program to make sure she understood all aspects of the company. Throughout the journey, she's been a huge asset to B&F's success. She's inspired to help continue growth of the business and instill the values that she was taught through all the years. Well, Nicole, I think we can all just sense and feel your family bond. It's so fun to see in the video, and it comes through in the magazine as well. Tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in a family business, and did you always expect to be running it one day?
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to give you a quick shout out. Thanks, Allie, for all the hard work and everyone over at TCB in St. Thomas. Obviously, we're all super excited and honored to be an honoree of this awesome award. So to your point, no, I absolutely did not think I was going to grow up and be the owner and president of a fastener supply company. I have a criminal justice degree. So in hindsight, if I would have thought this is where I would have ended up, I probably would do things a little bit differently. But no, to be honest, growing up, all of us kids knew. I should maybe also mention, the video didn't allude to it, but we do have another sibling. I have a sister, her name is Carrie, and she's a special ed teacher. So she's the saint of the family. And has certainly more patience probably than all of us combined. So there is another one, and she's not active in the business, but she's still part of the family, obviously. So growing up, we all knew that Dad owned the nut and bolt company. We all worked out in the warehouse. We dreaded it. I have very vivid memories of some of the jobs that I didn't. Now, obviously, I know that was intentional, that he made us do those jobs, but every single one of those jobs is needed and needs to be valued, and that's why he had us do them, so we could have that true appreciation for everything that goes into the dynamic. But no, we give my dad a hard time, like, couldn't you have started a cooler business? Or we were embarrassed to tell our friends because no one really understood what that all entailed. And now, being active in the business for the last 12 years as a career job, not just a part-time job, I do feel guilty. We totally did not understand how smart Dad was, and he's very business savvy, and everything that he established, most people can't do that. So we've come around. Maybe it's come full circle is what I'll say, is I think all 4 of us kids now have a true appreciation for the business and everything that went into it initially.
It stinks when you have to admit that Dad was right, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know. He doesn't let us forget.
At what point did you decide or realize that you were going to actually go to work there, that you wanted to join the family business and see it carry on?
Yeah, so it kind of started for me personally in 2012. I was working for the business part-time while I was going to school, just doing some basic accounting functions. And that was the first time that I had been in the office setting to really get a feel for the sales dynamic and the customer service part of it. And that was a little bit captivating. And I was like, oh, maybe this isn't quite as bad as I was thinking it was. And then in 2013, based off of just some recommendations from our advisors in accounting and estate planning attorneys, there was some things that we could do to capitalize with an ownership change. And so we had some family meetings to discuss, a change of ownership from mom and dad to primarily us 4 kids. And it was those conversations of ownership that really stemmed into what do you really want to do when you grow up? At this point, JJ was probably 16, like he was still in high school, so he was really young. But what are your intentions? What's a good fit? There certainly was no pressure. Obviously, with having one sibling not in the business, there wasn't any pressure to work in the company. And there certainly wasn't any pressure to take over the president's spot. Erin, my sister, did a great job of really self-identifying that she didn't necessarily want to manage people, as that's not a strength of hers. She's a great morale culture gal, but super non-confrontational, and to put her in a spot like I'm in would not have been a good fit. And I think that's probably their transition pretty, seamless in that regard, is that we weren't trying to force someone maybe into a spot that wasn't meant for them. So yeah, and I did not know that I wanted to be the president of the company, and now I can't imagine doing anything else. Yeah, that's where I landed. I think it's a good spot. I've been in the president's spot for a year and a half, and there's certainly been some learning curves, but I have basically grown up in my management role with an awesome executive team who has been critical in, their support and helping me transition, and it's truly been a success because of them.
So let's talk about, managing. You picked a heck of a time to take over, and
Yeah.
a matter of months later, here we are. So first, before we talk a little bit about COVID, let's just talk about the business and how things are going. Tell it, for those who don't know, first of all, talk a little bit about what B&F Fastener does and where are the real growth opportunities? What are you focused on now?
Yeah, so B&F, we are a industrial and construction supply wholesale distributor. So our primary markets are original manufacturers, maintenance and repair type of an accounts, and then also the construction market. Obviously, by the name, fasteners is kind of our core business, but that's not a true representation. So we also have a custom packaging division. So for example, if you bought a grill and you were going to do the assembly and you had all of your fasteners and the instructions in a bag, we have a division that does that. And then we also have 2 machining locations. So we get into custom, like per print machined typed goods that are spec'd out from the customer, and we're just manufacturing it for them. So we have 14 locations that service, the 6-state area, upper Midwest, as far as a physical footprint, but we certainly do have a customer base across the nation. And that's just, we're able to do that because of our flexible service platform. We offer, free daily delivery, and we also offer anything up to what we call a Be First inventory managed program, where that really takes, that part of it out for the customer and just makes it our responsibility to make sure that they're stocked. So
sure. Your dad mentioned in the video that, you compete and have always competed against larger companies. So what is the secret to success?
I think it's honestly the family dynamic. And when I say that, it's not just the O'Brien family, it's truly a B&F family. So I personally consider all 200 of our employees to be part of our B&F family. And every single day, there's examples of our employees taking our service platform and taking their own initiative to make something happen that's up over and beyond our expectation, to make sure that at the end of the day, our customers are taken care of. Because that's truly what matters to us.
It seems to be a theme that we hear a lot with the Family Business Awards, that when you have a family running the company, that energy tends to continue through with the whole employee network, not just the blood relatives.
Yeah, I feel that is a very true statement, Allie. I've obviously never worked corporate America. This has been my professional life, is working at B&F, but from what I've heard from people that have come to work for B&F from that corporate world, I honestly can't fathom that mentality. It's just very different, right? And we're used to the family feel, and so that's what we embrace, and that's our culture, and I think that's what sets us apart from some of our competition.
What would you say is the best advice you got professionally from your dad?
Yeah. I think it's in the article, but I referred to the lessons at Hard Knocks or something like that. He's the guy that lets you fail multiple times to show you that you're failing, and then you learn something from it. Um, but I think honestly, it's probably two things. One, uh, he has done a really great job of showing us the value that our customers have, but also the value that our employees have, because without either of them, you're nowhere. So he has done a great job of instilling that. And then he's also, he's a numbers guy. And so financially responsible, P&L, he's very savvy. And I think he's done a good job of conveying that down to me in this position, to realize the strength of having a strong balance sheet, especially in a time like COVID, and maybe how you can use that actually to your advantage to capitalize on it.
Sure. So let's talk a little bit about COVID. What have the last many months been like for the company?
Yeah, it's been a crazy year, to be quite honest. When it first hit, we weren't really sure how it was going to impact us. I honestly probably braced for the worst. I thought revenues would plummet. And they fell. I mean, they fell a little bit, but not nearly what I thought they were going to fall. And I think, that just goes to say a lot about the team and what we've done over the last 10 years since the last recession. Our customer concentration is much less, and we're not relying just on some heavy hitters. And, we've really helped ourselves out in there to make us strong. It's actually kind of been an oddly exciting time. Our salespeople are mostly working remotely, which is completely new for them. They're strictly B2B, cold calling, prospecting, driving their red trucks around. And they don't necessarily like it, but they've adapted well. They still want to be out there, but they've done well. And it's been super exciting to watch kind of our marketing and sales really take it to the next level with some of the creativity that they've come up with. And technology, like as a fastener, company, we did lack maybe a little bit there, and that's unfortunate, but COVID kind of pushed us to get a little bit more up to speed. I'm not saying we're there yet, but we're working on it. And we utilize Microsoft Teams as kind of our media for that, but we do lots of video calls. And I think that's been very beneficial for our overall culture as a company with the 14 locations. All of us on the executive team can pick up the phone and call the DMs or the branch managers, but we don't get to see them in person very often. And to be able to just, have a conversation similar to this and portray the correct emotion versus sending that email that might be interpreted the wrong way, or to see how someone reacts, like that has a lot of value. And I think that has helped us for sure reach out a little bit better to the branches.
Yeah.
So that part's been really exciting.
Obviously it would be wonderful if we could be doing this in person and we could be celebrating with a dinner, but I think you're right. I think about that a lot. This technology existed, but prior to COVID, would we have ever thought about jumping on a Zoom to have a call? And yet, here we are, and you're actually spending that face-to-face time with people you might have never seen.
Exactly. I think that's been cool. I think I mentioned it to you before, like I was fortunate enough to attend the banquet last year, and the banquet was phenomenal. And to win the award during COVID was like, oh man, we're not going to get to do that. But now it's like, you know what? This is actually really cool. Like lots of people get to see this, and there's some really good advantages, I think, of the technology that COVID has brought out.
Right. Lessons that you'll carry forward, either about your leadership or just opportunities for the company?
Yeah, so I think I'll continue the mentality that my dad has always kind of had of having that strong balance sheet, especially in down times. So back in 2008, he took the double down approach, and we opened 4 new branches. Like sales plummeted and he opened up 4 new branches because this is how we're going to make up for it, right? And COVID hit this year, and we in essence did the same thing. So in May, we opened up a brand new 25,000 square foot machining facility out in Frederick, Wisconsin. And then with that, over the last few months, we've been able to add 4 new machines to the machining division to help increase our output and create efficiencies. And so I think like that's the mentality. Like when times get tough, you got to figure out ways to grow, and having that strong balance sheet really allows you to be able to do that, and it kind of also puts you in the market to make some acquisitions, which is something that continues to be topics for us. In this market, there's a lot of people that don't have succession plans in place, the second generation might not be interested. They just don't have a plan. And so there certainly are some opportunities, and I think we're excited for what's to come with that.
Speaking of succession, I know there are some young kids at home in the family. What do they know about the business, and how do you play that? Because if you talk about the business too much, they might not want to be. Do you want them to carry on? Or are you thinking about that yet? I know you have a few years.
Yeah. So the youngest, so I have 3 children, and then I have a niece as well. The oldest is 5.5. So they're all pretty young. But we do talk about it. And so growing up personally, we didn't talk business at home. We didn't really know what dad did. We still don't talk business at home. It's the CEO's, that's her rule, and that's great. But I do think I could have personally set myself up for a better circumstance if I would have known more about the business. And so I do think there's just a balance, right? I think there's a balance of the kids knowing or being at least educated on what the business is and what that truly means, compared to maybe not talking about it as much. The dynamic that I have is my husband also does work for the business. He's one of our district managers, and that is probably where that's the hard part, because it's easy for us to both talk about it. And so we're just conscious about it, and the kids are aware. I think they had a reality check a couple months ago when they realized dad wasn't the boss and mom was the boss.
I love it.
Yeah, they can spot a B&F truck from a mile away. So it's pretty cool to see that brand recognition already when your 3-year-old can pick out that. So
that's so sweet. Well, hopefully many years to come. Congratulations to you and the entire team. We're so thrilled to recognize you. It's been really fun to get to know a little more about you and the company in this whole process.
Thank you very much for everything, Allie.
You bet. Well, now I'm delighted to introduce someone who Nicole knows well, John Keimig from St. Thomas Family Business Center. John is the director of the University of St. Thomas Family Business Center, which is the only educational resource of its kind in Minnesota. He's passionate about family business education, helping families find the answer to move their family business and ownership forward. His programming brings family businesses together to network and learn from other family businesses, showing them a path to generational success. Hi, John.
Allison, how are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. I know that you're familiar with B&F, as you are with many of the businesses that we consider each year. What stood out to you about this one? I know you have definite criteria that you're looking for when you consider the health and wellness of a family business.
Yeah, you bet. The first time I really interacted with the family was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I asked Lauren, the father, to sit on a panel about succession planning. And his response to me was, I can't do that justice without including my daughter, one of our non-family executives, and our attorney. And I said, well, congratulations, you just signed all 4 of you up. And so we did an event just around their family and their transition before it had finalized. And so I was able to really see a lot of the things that they did well, really well, and were out ahead of. And I think we heard them when Nicole was talking, the word intentional, how they came into work early and how she's looking at that balance now for the 3rd generation in the business. I thought was really interesting. And then the positions, some families, everybody wants to be the CEO. It's not the case in this family. So that's really helped them, but they've done that through having the right conversations and then having conversations when they did about ownership. That's an issue that families don't often talk about enough, is that ownership piece of the family business. They talk about the family and they talk about the business. And in the O'Brien family, those are separate at home, but they did it in the right way to talk about ownership within the family and setting them up for that long-term success.
Right. I think they even mentioned in the article that, some of those conversations can feel kind of morbid, but it's really important to have them and have that plan.
It really is, and it's tough. And I always challenge family businesses. I say, how many of you have a family? And you raise your hand and say, is it hard to talk in your family? Now layer business on top of that. So it's a real challenge, but the families that are really going to set themselves up for long-term generational success are figuring out how to have those conversations A lot of times it's bringing somebody else in to facilitate that. And for them, it was an attorney that came in and said, hey, here are some things to think about. And so getting those right advisors to come in and be part of the planning can make the communication a lot easier, because then it doesn't have to be mom or dad leading a conversation about morbidity, but it can be a third party, somebody that's neutral that can bring the facts in and keep some of the emotion out of it.
Right. Well, great takeaways for other businesses. John, thank you for your expertise. Thanks for being part of our committee and helping us along the way. You provide some great insight to family
Thanks,
business
Allison.
structure. Good to see you. Well, thank you all for joining us today. So much great information and inspiration. We'll be back next week with an interview with Joseph Wallace, president of Independent Packing Services. Thank you again to our sponsors, Hubler for Family Business, Frederickson and Byron, University of St. Thomas Family Business Center, and the Platinum Group. Thank you all for joining us. If you've missed our previous conversations, they're online at tcbmag.com, and this one will be added to that shortly so you can share it with friends and colleagues. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll catch you here again next Tuesday.